In order to change the world, we have to change ourselves, but we can't do it alone. So what does it take?
Hey, that's what's up.
Every day.
What's up, everybody? This is Nuggets of Wisdom, and today I want to share something deeply personal with you. This week marks 3 years since my first ceremonies with ayahuasca. Most of my friends and family know and have heard me speak about these ceremonies, but I had some reservations when choosing to share it with everyone. But after some contemplation, I realized that keeping it inside doesn't serve any of us. That we need to become educated and gain insight from conversation, from sharing our stories with each other. So disclaimer, I'm about to share my personal story of the first ceremonies I underwent. But psychedelics aren't for everyone, but we can all become psychedelic literate, where we have an educated perspective and we are able to respect and understand the value that these medicines do have and the place that they can be used in the world. So, word of caution for all of us. Proceed wisely down this path. Do not take anything lightly. Contemplate deeply and make sure that you are ready before you make any decision. What initially drew me to ayahuasca? I would say it started with my parents' divorce when I was 12 years old. That separated my world and caused an internal aching, pain. And ever since then, I had been feeling the desperation to regain my wholeness, the world that I once knew. Out of this search, in this seeking, I came across many different modalities and many different styles of conversation, all towards healing. I had heard about ayahuasca and it had interested me, but the realistic possibility of me exploring the Amazon rainforest on my own at a young age seemed a little beyond my capability. And it wasn't until I was 20 and one of my teachers at university had a very interesting discussion during the class, and afterwards I felt compelled to go and talk to him. And this had nothing to do with ayahuasca, but it simply gave us a point of communication, and that conversation ended after class. Fast forward a couple years later, I'd taken other classes of his a couple times, and we'd started to talk on the regular, and he became interested. One day, we went and we sat down and we talked this out, that we were both interested in taking this journey together. So we went ahead, did our research, planned it, found a center, the whole 9 yards. So this is the story of how it unfolded. August 15th, 2015. We took the plane trip from the United States down to the jungles of Peru, and we stayed a night in a hotel prior to the center coming and gathering everybody, and they took us through the waters out to the retreat center. We filled in our spaces and our little bungalows with our items, and later that evening was our first ceremony with ayahuasca. Yes, it happened the day we got there. That was a little unsettling for me because it was such a quick transition to go from logistical, being in a different country, to later that day having a profound ceremony where you have to reflect, sit, and do the hard work. But it happened. And they called this the meet and greet with Mother Ayahuasca. And this is where we all got smaller doses than normal so that we could see how our bodies reacted to it. Maybe some of us needed a lot more. Maybe some of us, this meet and greet dose was perfect. But the first ceremony unfolded, and for me, it was rather mild. I did feel slight discomfort in my physical body due to nausea, but nevertheless, the ceremony went through and we were out. We went to sleep that night, and the next ceremony started the very next day, that evening. So we had breakfast and we had lunch, and the next ceremony was the next evening. So, and there was a total of 5 ayahuasca ceremonies we participated in. Each one of these connecting in succession, and the work culminating through all of the ceremonies. The second ceremony for me was when things got more profound. During the ceremony, the maestro was singing his Icaro, and through this, I started to perceive very serpentine energy, and all of a sudden, there were snakes all around me, little tiny snakes, flowing and moving in a pattern and a direction to the beat of the Icaro, and it was beautiful. I didn't necessarily know what was going on, and all these snakes were moving in a certain direction. And soon I found myself moving in the same direction. And soon I realized I was one of the snakes. I was a snake. But where were we going? Because there was twists and there was turns, and all these little snakes are wiggling together. And through this, all of a sudden it wrapped around, and out came this enormous snake. This huge snake that overpowered all of us. This was Mother Ayahuasca making her first appearance. And she came flying towards all the little snakes as the maestro is getting more and more intense in the Icaro. Meanwhile, my physical body is laid down on a mat, and I cannot move a muscle. I'm in paralysis. Here to witness Mother Ayahuasca as this huge snake. And it was more of a visionary experience where I'm in this space as a snake and I see Mother Ayahuasca. Soon she sort of makes her entrance and wiggles around. I don't know what you call snake wiggling. Slithering. Soon Mother Ayahuasca slithers around, and eventually I don't necessarily recall how exactly that ended, but eventually my physical body was released from paralysis, and after realizing the power that ayahuasca holds, that she can paralyze my body and put me into a visionary state, this was something profound. But what is even more interesting is the next day, after ceremony, we had woken up and I went to speak with other people. And a couple other people that I'd spoken to, they said they also experienced themselves as a little snake and snakes all around. I found this fascinating because this is shared collective vision through the medium of sound enhancing all of our experiences in a similar way. Nevertheless, third ceremony the next day. So we had 3 ceremonies in a row, a day break, and then the 2 following ceremonies, and then we were out of there. So third ceremony came around, and I don't necessarily have very much memory about this ceremony. In the 4th ceremony, I became staunchly aware of my internal ego that was afraid of the world. And everything I was judging, and I was scared. And I was tired of it. And I said, I'm done. I do not want to live like this anymore. And in that ceremony, the notion, the whole idea culminated. That I was approaching these ceremonies in a fearful manner. That in this 5th ceremony, I needed to drink a full cup. I needed to go all the way, to push myself, to break open the doors of perception and reset my mind and my ego if I wanted to truly live differently. Immediately after this 4th ceremony, I went to one of the shamans and I was speaking with him about this 5th ceremony, the full cup. And he just kind of laughed. He said, really, the last one? Like you want to blow it off on the last one? And I said, I've come here and I have work to do. I know this is what I need to do. He said, very well, I'll serve you that cup tomorrow night. And after that, I went to bed and I was shaking. The whole day I was nervous leading up to this ceremony because I knew this was real. I felt it viscerally in my body that this ceremony had the potential to change my life, to open me up, and boom. So, how did it go? I walked up, I kneeled, they served me the cup, took it back to my mat, we all drank on the same time. Salud. Put that cup down. That's the taste. That's the taste of ayahuasca. Sure, you could hold it in with a straight face. But nevertheless. Okay. Fifth ceremony. And how this center worked is they had the head shaman and his son, and then they had other shamans and helpers, let's say, guides, helpers, that would go around and make sure everyone's okay. So, what ended up happening was that the whole ceremony starts to take off, and I'm riding the wave. I am drawing on mosquito medicine, wolf medicine. I call upon the wolves to go and to hunt that inner voice of fear and to bring it right to my attention. I call upon the mosquitoes to come and suck it out of me, to take away this fear. But is that truly enough? Can we merely rely on what could be perceived as imaginary internal mechanisms to remove our fear? Maybe. But maybe the work was deeper than that. And as I'm riding the wave, they come and they check on me. And it was beautiful. Everything was fine. I give them the thumbs up. I'm doing okay. However, this was the last ceremony, and we were getting ventiadas, which is where the shaman would come around and sing in a coro just for you to close you up and send you on the rest of your life. Now, the shaman that came to me to perform the ventiada was Carlos, the head shaman's son. And he was slightly older than me, maybe by 3 years. And he starts singing this ventiada to me as he's shaking his shikapa and singing the coro. And I'm sitting there receiving it. And the most beautiful sensation starts to arise in me, is that he is young, I am young, and we are here doing this work early so that we can become strong within ourselves and share this with the world. The visionary starts to open up. I perceive a Taurus moving through my body. And next thing I know, he's finished. The coro is done. Ventiada closed. He moves on to the next person. And I am left sitting there awestruck in this realization. And soon, the visionary space starts to overpower me. And there is no sense of self. That starts to dissolve. I start to become the rainforest. I start to become the Amazon River and all of the paths of life that have once lived, that are living, and will live. And soon, as I'm looking around in the room, I am everyone. I am every single one of these participants in the ceremony. And we are all opening our hearts together to receive this medicine and heal. And that's when it started to take me farther than I ever imagined. I'd always been a reserved, somewhat timid individual, let's say. And what started happening to me was I started letting out these ecstatic yelps and screaming in front of all the participants of the ceremony. That was never in my character, and that was something I was afraid of. And so through that fear, Mother Ayahuasca broke that door right down. And my screaming brought attention. Some of the guides and helpers that came to comfort me and speak to me to help me understand and ground. But that wasn't stopping it. Next thing I knew, I was in oblivion, in complete void blackness, and the world ceased to exist. I found myself dead. I knew nothing of life anymore, and I remembered the life I once had, but that was gone. And I was in this place where it was very dark, very disorienting, and I remember my subconscious spewing information. And supposedly, after my body started shaking and I was screaming, and they picked me up and they carried me to the shower. There were showers in the ceremony house. They carried me to the showers, 5 of them, and they sat around me as I subconsciously was spewing up information from my subconscious and rapping it. Boom. Spitting out these rhymes. I don't even know if they made sense because there was no I. This was coming out of me, and from time to time, out of this eternal space, I would gain a sense of earthly awareness, pull my head up, and I would be there. And I would look around, 5 of them surrounding me. But I was them, and they were me. And out of this conquest to overcome fear, I'd get a loogie, poof, spit in one of their faces. Poof. And then I drop back to oblivion. In this dark void that I had to face and realize that I was there. There was no escaping. All my fears, all my hopes, all my dreams, gone. I'm simply there. But what to do with this? I had no idea. The story ends up, they carried me back to my mat. There's a whole group of people, ceremony participants, because the ceremony is now over. Ceremony participants surrounding me. Everyone talking in a very gentle way, trying to ground me and help me regain awareness. Eventually, I remember them speaking as they're like feeling up my spine. That then the lights came back on. And I look around, I'm surrounded by people, and I'm in completely different clothes. And I have no idea what happened. And I look and I say, what's going on? And they tell me that you were experiencing something so overwhelming and powerful. We carried you to the shower, this, that. And I was very shaky at that point still. But eventually, I started to ground. I started to realize what had happened. And it had stripped everything away from me. And I stayed in that ceremony house for a while, just sitting there, reflecting and pondering the intensity that I had gone through. And as I start to feel my body again, I'm asking the shamans questions and trying to understand what ayahuasca, how she works, how this medicine can transform us. Because that, to me, that was immensely more powerful than I could have ever imagined. And I had no idea, no reference of what to do with that. So the next day was the last day there. Everyone begins to leave. And we all go home, our separate ways. Yeah, sure, we connect on Facebook, and now we have these connections. But here I am, having gone through at that point, the most extraordinary experience of my life. Extraordinary meaning extraordinary, literally. I'm not saying enjoyable extraordinary, but literally, I had no context for this. I come back, and my initial notion was, I'll never do that again. That was so powerful that my ego cannot bear to face that ever again. That was a true stripping away of everything I've ever known. And through that, I had to reintegrate. I had to develop my character and how I behave in the world again. And I came back, and before I had participated in the ceremonies, my notion was ayahuasca is gonna tell me everything I need. And I'm gonna experience this ecstatic joy and this healing, and I'm gonna go back into the world and I'm gonna know X, Y, and Z to the T of what I need to do. That's not how it worked at all. It was more, it took everything away. I had no idea what I was gonna do. But over months, it took me months of meditating every day, because that's what I realized I needed to take up. Because I needed to learn how to sit still in times of intensity. Because obviously my body went haywire, and I had no reference of how to ground and how to still myself in these times. So meditation was catalyzed through this experience. And this experience holds with me even today. I have deep respect for that place, deep respect for that void where it's just love. And it's love and love again. But it's so much love that if you're not used to it, you can't handle it. You have to break the barriers inside yourself that hold you back from experiencing this love. And when you break those, you've been so used to them, it feels like your entire world and psyche and ego has been broken. And it takes a long time to rewire and re-knit that together. So that's my story. But I'd also like to answer the question for you. What is my advice to someone interested in ayahuasca? And my advice is meditate deeply on it for about a month or more, because this is not something to be taken lightly. A decision like this, that's not the way to approach this. Sure, some people, some of you may be in desperate times, but for your sake of well-being, take time to contemplate deeply. Really be honest with yourself of why you want to go. Because curiosity is one thing, but life-transforming healing is another. And you need to make sure that you are fully up to that task. You are fully there for whatever presents itself. This is powerful medicine. And it can help heal many people of many different psychological traumas. But it needs to be approached with extreme caution and wisdom, that this is not just a handout to everybody. Because one can become an ayahuasca evangelist after they've had a transforming experience, thinking ayahuasca will transform the world, everybody just needs to drink. No. Everybody has to do the work inside themselves, for themselves, and we have to be ready to do that work. Otherwise, this experience does not serve us. In fact, this experience can extremely harm us. You need to make sure that you are in good company. The guides, the shamans, that they are well-educated masters of the art, and they are there with a benevolent presence, there to keep you safe and help you in times of difficulty. So the next step would be read and research as much as you possibly can, because this is going to give you insight and context into how things should be performed based on people that have already gone through the experience and can tell you what was good and what was bad about it. Like listening to this video. This is research. Understand it. Anyway, walk down the path with steps of wisdom and do yourself a favor. Keep that heart open and that chin up, because you and we exist. This is our opportunity to shine on earth and to get things together, to take responsibility for our actions and transform the way the culture behaves for the next generation, so that we can continue this gift of life and the miracle of life. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you found any value in this video, please click the like button, share it with somebody else that may be interested and that can learn from this. Subscribe to my channel for more inspiring videos, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.